Creating the Purple Couch podcast and MySoul OS was very deeply driven for me. I am on a mission, and the mission isn't just who's in my backyard. It's to help these kids globally. So why did I create the Purple Couch podcast? The need. When we are looking at 1 in 31 children as of 2025 that were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, that's a global scale, and that's just the statistics in the United States. The amount of resources available for those families is very limited. We're in a world currently where applied behavioral analysis is one of the forms of therapeutic treatment for children on the autism spectrum. But yet not every county has reasonable accessibility to these therapists. So what do I do for families that were like me, that were in West by God, Virginia? We have rural families that don't have access to this immediate care. Sometimes they're driving 45 minutes to an hour just to get to their general practitioner, let alone therapeutic treatment options for their neurodivergent student. So we wanted to give it to the masses. If we did a podcast and we answered questions that parents were having, and we brought clinical resources to their homes, to their couch, then it wouldn't be just those families that had access to treatment. It would be giving a global need, and we could talk to families no matter if they were in Minnesota, West Virginia, Kentucky, or Taiwan. Giving this resource should be not to those that only have the availability. It should be available for all kids. And sometimes as a mom, that mom on a mission, I remember what it was like and how isolated I felt. And I didn't have anyone to pick up the phone and call. I was the oldest great-grandchild and the oldest grandchild. So who do you call when you've got a child that wasn't developing typically? I found Dr. Google. Well, I don't want our families just to have to go to Google. I want them to be able to reach out and talk to other families, other doctors, therapists that may not be in their backyard, but they're only an email away. That's why we developed the Purple Couch podcast. Now, MySoul OS, that is my spiritual side coming out. Today, we turn on the news, we turn on our radio, and we are plagued with nothing but negativity. There's no positive light at the end of the tunnel anymore. I joke with some of my staff and I'm like, can you see the light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train? Well, that's what MySoul OS is. It is teaching people how to control, alt, delete, reboot their internal system. And when we're living in chaos, sometimes all we need is a moment to pause. But today, we've got to be reminded it's okay to take a pause. And that's what MySoul OS is. It is a reminder of how can we reboot our internal system and turn off all that negativity and reboot to a positive way of looking.